Hey, it's Travis with Beyond Quotas here on the set for the next podcast. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about finances and how not mastering them can lead to what's called commission breath. Be sure to join in. I know you're going to love it.
Welcome back to Beyond Quotas, everyone. This is our podcast off the cuff, and this is our episode called Commission Breath. And commission breath is absolutely something that salespeople experience either in their start of their career or something that they've been doing, for a long time. And honestly, it's something that we've all experienced. But it depends on you as a person if you've experienced it more than others because of the personal situation that you're in. And Travis, has some great tidbits about this. And, Travis, you brought this topic up because for a fact, that you see it in your own, current career or around, some of the individuals you work with in the past or in the present. And, what are your thoughts about it?
Well, to be honest with you, Gio, it's commission breath is caused with a lack of prospects. Your pipeline is not full, but honestly, you can get away with that because here's the thing: like most of the people that I come across and the salespeople that I come across, it really has to do with their finances, and finances is a big topic.
Yeah.
Especially in sales, whether you're 100% commission or you have a salary plus commission, whatever the case, but you need to master your finances. And I know obviously this isn't a Dave Ramsey scenario where he's got his own podcast and everything else, but finances are important.
Yeah.
And the reason why we get commission breath is because one, like you said, we don't have the prospects, so like you're relying on this one sale to get your quota and make your number. But there's a lot of people, Gio, that unfortunately spend their money before they make it.
Yes.
And they'll rely on like you said, they'll kind of go in and they know exactly the number, and like they'll calculate their taxes and everything else. Like, oh my God, am I going to make my number? Is this going to work? As opposed to thinking like, whatever the number is, it's icing on the cake.
Right.
It goes into investments anyway, or it goes into a slush fund or a savings account for
a rainy day,
right. Whatever the case.
Right.
And so we're going to kind of touch on this. Is kind of a 2-part series, and we're going to touch on a little bit more on the next part on ways to actually never have to worry about commission breath for the rest of your career, and obviously getting to the point where you master your finances. But I just wanted to kind of touch on the subject because like I said, there's too many. It's a subject that's worth talking about because there's too many people that actually are suffering.
Mm-hmm.
From this, whether it be like running their credit cards up, and they don't understand how the finances work, how the numbers work. We're very good as far as calculating our commission totals, but we fail to realize what that compound interest, that that interest rate that we're getting charged on our credit cards, what that really means,
right,
and how that's draining our lifestyle, our future,
right.
So that's.
It impacts you when you're looking to invest in a home or in a car or something of a important. And that's the thing, right? Is that you don't realize the impact because you only think about what's the expectations of, can I make the minimum payment? Can I just make sure that this this credit card is still moving, even though I'm accumulating more cost to it. But then not realizing that interest rate that impacts you, potentially faulting on some payments, things of that nature. And yes, we're maybe getting a little bit too deep, but what I say that is because now you got to pay attention to your credit score and your credit history, because that is what if it comes to a point where it's important for you to make a big purchase because it's a need rather than a want, but now you don't have the stability because your credit score is not where it needs to be able to get such a purchase, right? That becomes a burden for a person, right?
And like I said, as far as to kind of get, switch back into like the commission breath like we talked about,
right?
You'll get to a point where, and I see it a lot in car salesmen, do this a lot, and unfortunately, and you'll be sitting there with a customer or whatever industry you're in, and you'll start pushing. You'll realize that this is going to make or break my. I haven't made a commission in a while. Yeah, I'm not nowhere near my number. This is going to be it. Otherwise, I don't pay rent. And these are sad situations. I'm not going to sit there and say that it's not.
Right.
They're avoidable.
Yeah.
But these are sad situations.
Right.
Obviously, you and I have been through scenarios like this. I think going through a bad situation, like we did in Texas, I think that's got us to where we are today, and how we think, how we rethink the finances. But you start looking at a customer and getting angry and annoyed,
pushy,
Yep. And then you'll start blurting out stuff that you're really thinking. Now, don't get me wrong. We've all sit in front of a customer. They're not getting it. They're not going with it. We're getting frustrated that we can't get to them. Whatever. We've had those situations. They're normal. But then you start thinking about the fact that I was relying my entire year on this. Now it's more like, come on, Mr. Customer. You've got to do this. Now it's more, like I said, it's more pushy.
Yep.
And now, as opposed to leaving that door open, having an ongoing conversation, now you're being escorted out. You're not going to go back in there. You've lost because here's the thing. People can sniff out commission breath.
Yeah.
They can sniff out when their needs aren't being addressed.
Right.
When it becomes your needs and not their needs, they can sniff it out. Just like if you were, guys or girls, whatever, going out and finding the opposite sex.
You're going to relate it to dating.
I'm going to, because it does. But if you become desperate, people don't like desperation. They don't like desperate people.
Absolutely.
They'd like to know that you don't really need them. Like, hey, I want you, but I don't need you.
Right.
And it's the same thing with sales.
Right.
That's why I love sales. Sales is everything about life. It's sales. But anyway.
Yeah. But
that's the thing. Like it mastering your finances to where you don't have to worry about it. Then you can become calm. You know for a fact that your basic needs are being taken care of. And that way you're stress free. Now you can worry about what you really need to worry about.
Yep.
You can sit down in front of a customer and obviously go through that situation. But if it doesn't happen, guess what? You have others. You don't have to worry about it. And obviously we talked about prospecting before, and we're not going to go dive in too much into that. But that's the thing. Mastering your finances is such a pivotal part in your overall success. That this is why we're putting a 2-part series. This is why we're going to give away some strategies to mastering those finances, because that is a huge part of your entire, not only career but your life.
Yep. And to be honest, sometimes people, when they listen into this topic, for certain individuals it might be like, well, hey, it's not that easy. It's not that simple for me to just kind of not give away my commission breath because I am hitting in hard times and stuff. And we can understand that because we ourselves were in that position years ago. But we learn from those certain situations. But we also are assuming that you're not listening to a podcast like ours without expecting to gather some intel or ways to improve your how you're doing things today so that you can get yourself out of that rut, right? Because, just like you said, years ago, we were working for a company that was commission based. And, there was times where I was really counting the dollars, counting the cents of what I was going to make for that week, so that once I got to, Walmart or wherever I was doing my food shopping, I can buy what I needed. And if not, I was paying attention to things that were on sale. I wasn't living with a lifestyle of freedom, as I consider it, right? It was a way of feeling binded and almost locked down with what I needed to buy and only what was essential for me, rather than having the luxury to know that wherever I walked into today, like I do, or whatever I go ahead and wish to purchase, I have the freedom to do so because I'm not worried about, my dollars or where my expenses are, because they're taken care of. But you also look into a scenario where I had a colleague, and a couple years ago, this colleague lived that lifestyle that we're talking about today, which was commission breath. they made a base salary plus commission, and their base salary was 6 figures. But even with that base salary, his wife, and his daughter, he could not take care of. Mind you, his wife also had a job as well. She was like a teacher or something like that. So they had a 2-income household, and yet they were unable to really sustain that lifestyle that they were living. And their lifestyle wasn't dramatic. It wasn't, high end by any means. It was just the way that they managed their dollars, and the fact that they had so much debt that just kept riding that wave. So going back to your point, that affected the concerns that they had about being able to pay for the expenses that they had sitting because of the debt that they had. So yeah, he had a great base, but even so, it didn't amount to what he needed. So now every quarter that we were getting our commissions, he was counting it, Travis. He was paying attention. He would spend at least the last week of every quarter fighting accounting and dealing with all of the commission group to say, hey, no, you're missing $1 here. This statement is not correct there, whatever, to follow everything, because he was banking on that commission to be able to pay for his bills, to help him pay for his bills. Because if he didn't get the dollars that he needed, guess what? He wasn't able to pay for his bills, and now he's rolling the debt more and more, right? And it just becomes a burden and a burden and a burden. So now his performance was starting to decline. Yep. Now he's walking into opportunities, and he is failing at them because, like you said, customers are reading the body language, they're smelling the breath, and they're realizing that this person is desperate for the sale, that they're in turn not really there for what's most important, their investment to the customer, and being able to really deliver on what their expectations are and what their needs are. And so that is going to not, so when we're talking about this topic, you think about a lot of the things that it affects you. It doesn't only affect you because you're not earning the dollars that you're expecting from your base or whatever. It's affecting family members around you because you are responsible for certain ones, if you are. It's also affecting your performance at work. It's affecting your career potentially in the future, because this can affect you over time with other companies if you were to potentially be let go the current one. There's so many avenues that can really affect you off of just that one little piece that you may not realize that that you're doing, right?
Yeah. And here's the thing, like I'll give an example. I have a friend as well that literally I had to bite my tongue because unfortunately a lot of people, you shouldn't give advice that if it's not asked for. Yeah. I wanted to. Don't get me wrong. I literally I had to bite my tongue because she told me I need to make more money so I can buy a motorcycle. And here's the thing that bothers me is the fact that she's already making, I think she's making 6 figures, right?
Okay.
So the fact that I need to, most of us, and this is how obviously the middle class think, but it's, most of us, when our salary or our, income increases, our lifestyle increases.
Yes.
And that's what gets us in trouble. That's why we can't, if we're making 6 figures, and most of us, if we're making 6 figures, whether, obviously the low end or the high end, whatever the case, hopefully it's, the high end and you don't have to worry about anything, but we shouldn't have to worry. All our bills should be paid.
Right.
But when we increase our means, we start buying the new cars as opposed to paying cash for it. Never buy a depreciating asset. That's my motto. If you're going to do it, you pay cash for it. Anyway. But we start increasing our credit card bills, our credit card statement, because obviously, it's a lot easier to pay on credit card than it is, on cash, which is fine if you want to get the points, but make sure you pay it off.
Correct.
And don't even wait at the end of the month. Pay it off the day of.
Right.
If you don't have cash in the bank, you don't buy it.
Correct. Yep.
But we're not talking about years and years. You'd be amazed how quickly you can pay off all your debt. And we'll show you a way to actually do that, to the point where you can actually pay off a 30-year mortgage in almost less than 10 years. It's very quick. And again, we'll show you how to do that. But we're not talking about a long time. We're not talking about like, wow, it's going to be 20 years before I can be debt free and be, free of worry. No, it's pretty quick.
Right.
But here's the thing. Just imagine this. You have no debts. Nothing to speak of. The only thing you're really paying is property taxes, or if you're renting, you're paying obviously your rent, and then your power bill and everything else.
Right. Utilities.
You've got at least 6 months, but most likely a year's worth of income, living expenses set aside. All the money that you're paying or that you were paying on your bills right now are going into investments. So rather than, obviously, let's and again, we'll touch on this a little bit more on the next episode, but as opposed to paying like 20% interest in your credit card payments, now you're actually making money on those same payments. You've maxed out your 401k, so your retirement's set, and now all the commissions that you're getting, you taking you and your wife to on vacation every quarter.
Yep.
Nothing to worry about. Your lifestyle didn't increase because you still eat out, you still go on date nights, you still do anything. You're getting more money every year, but your lifestyle stays the same because you're still doing the same things you've always done.
Mm-hmm.
But you're free of worry. That's where we want to get, because when you're free of worry, you can start closing like a freaking machine.
Right.
Because you don't have to worry about it. You don't care if they don't see the value. Okay, we're moving on.
Right.
Go to the next one.
That should be the only time that you get like upset, right? Is because the customer didn't see the value that they needed and they deserved, right? Yeah. But that's about the only moment that you should really be upset, because you're so passionate about it. But if you're upset because, damn it, they didn't take this opportunity and now I have to figure out a way to make up for it so I can get my commission and blah blah blah, that's not the time,
Whenever you go home to your wife and you've talked about this meeting with Mr. Smith, and your wife comes on, hey, how did the meeting go with Mr. Smith? Yeah, we didn't get it. Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do? I don't want that. I don't want that for anybody.
No.
I certainly don't want that for you. I don't. That is not something. There's reasons why we both got together and started this company. The reason why I got together and I started this company is because I don't want anybody to ever have to feel the way I did in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting there, I know I've talked about it, but having creditors call you from 2 a.m. to 2 a.m., like nonstop, 24 hours a day, the phone getting shut off because you can't pay for it. You can't pay the creditors. You can't pay your phone bill. You can't pay anything.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. Like, you're doing some ninja skills to try to get away from the landlord that lives in the same house that you do. Yeah, you do that, but whatever. But like, I don't want that crying yourself to sleep because you don't have the money and you feel like a failure. I didn't know back then that it was avoidable.
Right.
I thought I was living a life, and I was stupid in a lot of respects. A lot of that is my fault.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame the company we worked for. It was a bad time, obviously, to sell door to door. I'm not going to lie. But had I been financially responsible, I could have stayed there and gotten better.
Right.
But I wasn't. And again, it took me a lot of years to get back to normal. But it also set me on a course where, like, I'm never going to have that again, and I'm never going to allow anybody else to have it again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want people to feel that way.
Yep.
And again, that's something obviously we're going to talk about in the next podcast about, how to avoid that. How to put yourself in a situation where you never have to worry about money again. If your girlfriend, your wife, or anybody, your best friend, I don't care, says, let's go to Tahiti for the weekend, done. I've already got my ticket. Like, you can say yes to life.
Right.
And you don't have to wait till you're 65 and retired to do it.
Yep. So again, like Travis said, we are going to be doing this as a two-part series. So on the next episode, we're going to be actually giving some valuable information about how exactly you can become successful with the way that you sustain your lifestyle with finances today, and find it in a quicker path, I think, right, rather than years of potential payments and processes to get there. It's there's going to be some great, super valuable information. Please stay tuned and listen into it. You guys are going to love it. Any closing words, sir?
No, like I said, we're excited, obviously, to give that information, because that is the launching point to long-term success, is obviously getting the idea and getting the framework and getting the plan in place to make sure that you have long-term success, and you don't have to sit there and work your entire life and try to make payments that all your investments, all your commissions can go to investments, obviously, multiply and everything else.
I love it. And you guys are also going to love it. Well, that's it for this episode. We'll see you on the two-part series. I appreciate it, and you guys have a good one. Thank you.